Today we're going to talk about what is the best strategy for learning English for you, right? You might be already advanced at English, or you might be a beginner, or you might be learning English for business purposes or traveling purposes. Anyways, today we're going to walk through the different archetypes, or we can say categories, of learners, right? So different learners should use different strategies in order to improve their English. So Pepper, you've been learning English for a long time now. And do you think it's important to know why you're learning English and like what is the best strategy to learn English?
Yes, I think I've been learning English since I was 5 years old. And I've been doing that not because I'm taking an interest in English. It's more because I was forced to do so. Later on, when I graduated and entered into university, when I got more freedom, and I started to wonder why should I need to continue studying English, because I was studying engineering back in uni. So I don't
Do you need English to pursue engineering?
I don't really have to.
Okay.
I still would like to get to know more about foreign cultures. So yeah, this is the question that I keep asking myself, like, why do I need to use English? So this is the question, like, also equals who am I?
So you were learning English, but you didn't know why you were learning English. Do you think that kind of slowed you down?
I feel like it is, like, although I'm being like immersed in this kind of English environment, but I don't have the specific goal that where I'm heading. So I feel like that slower progress than if I have better idea of where I'm going.
So when did you kind of find out that answer, and how has that helped you?
It's not like I have this like definite answer once, but it's different for each stage.
And yeah, I think I've had a lot of different students with different goals, right? So without further ado, why don't we introduce the 6 archetypes? These are the 6 archetypes of English learners, right?
Yeah.
And try to see if you belong in any of these. And then we'll go through them one by one. So go ahead.
Okay, the first type of learner is the foundation builder with zero foundation. And the second type is the career advancer. They want to improve so they can gain further career achievement.
Cool.
And then the third type is the academic striver who is aiming to taking the IELTS and who is going to study in an English-speaking country. The fourth type is the creative professional, like artists and writers and content creators who might need to create contents in English. So, and the fifth type is the social connector. Yeah, I think I used to belong to that
I was
type.
gonna say, like, yeah,
Yeah.
you were talking about that just now.
Yeah, they need English for making more friends, networking, and for traveling. So the last type is the relocation planner, those who are aiming to immigrate to an English-speaking country. Let's go through them one by one.
Sounds good, yeah. Remember, you're the driver of the car. You can take this as you please, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the learner with zero foundation, totally beginners and with very basic English skills.
Yep.
Yeah, they need to learn a lot about the basic vocabulary and grammar. So what do you have to say to these type of students?
Yeah, I encounter these a lot. A lot of these students, they might be very young, or they might be older, and they might be a student who just didn't pay attention in school, and they realize that their English is really bad as an adult, and then they realize, oh my God, wow, 后悔. Like I wish I took English more seriously, because like I can see how it can help me in my life socially, academically, work-wise. So a lot of these learners, they have a goal in mind, whether it's for school or work or socially, but they don't have the foundation to get better. So for me, what I would recommend is that these students, they focus on building the basics through courses that are standardized. And what I mean by standardized is you're going to be learning your very basic stuff, like apple, banana, dick. Like you got to know dick. But you got to know your basics. Perhaps you won't learn dick in an adult group English class. But you have to build your foundations. Like you got to be able to count to 1,000. And a lot of these adult English learners, they might even struggle with that. So without that, you can't achieve anything. Have a pretty low budget and be able to learn this. So there's a lot of free like language apps, for example, Duolingo, which I really actually support. And there's a lot of free online, not free, but cheap online courses and in-person group classes that can really get you from 0 to a decent level. And the good thing is these foundations are true for every person. So once you get to a certain level, you can then decide what other types of English you need to learn. So once you have your foundation, do I want to learn like English for social reasons or for business reasons? Yeah, so you got to build that foundation first.
Shall we move on to the next type of learner?
Let's do it.
The next type of learner is the career advancer who are seeking career growth and transitioning to an English-speaking industry. They might include CEOs, entrepreneurs, job savers, and career switchers. Like, for example, a lot of engineering people, civil engineering people is thinking about making a career change right now.
Are you describing yourself?
Yeah, it's like...
It sounds like you're describing yourself. That was a very specific example.
Yeah, I'm describing myself and then like asking for my friends too. They might be curious about this question too.
So why might an engineer decide to switch careers?
A lot of people might say it's not really a good time for civil engineering and the real estate market nowadays.
Okay, so economically is one reason.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not necessary because of that. Because when we were younger, when we were 19 or 18, and we were entering to university, we have no idea what we got ourselves into.
Oh, okay. So maybe you found out it's not very suitable for you after.
Yeah, later when you're about to graduate, you might start to realize, I don't like engineering that much. Yeah. Maybe getting progress in English, it's a way out.
Yeah. It's a different skill set, right?
Yeah.
And into a different field. And English is useful in many different fields. So you're looking to pick up a different skill in order to get out. Okay, I understand that. Okay, let's go back to this general archetype and category. So from my experience working with these types of people have varying degrees of English skill. So they might be a complete beginner, or they might be someone like you with already a decent level of English, right? So, so their learning needs will be different. If they're changing careers, and they need to improve their English, and there is zero, I'm not talking about like the gay zero, I mean like zero foundation. They're still in the first category, but they're doing it for business purposes, right? So they still have to go through the process of building their foundation, and then they have to learn job-specific vocabulary. Let's say you want to become a flight attendant or a pilot, right? So you might have to work with like international customers all the time. You gotta be able to say chicken or beef. Yeah, well, you have to. Okay, this might not be the best example, but you should be able to talk about the emergency exit, for example, right? So you gotta learn like airplane specific English in addition to the foundation English, right? So let me give another example. If you want to work in international trade, this is a much better example. You need to be able to learn about English, right? So one of my favorite games is The Sims. I don't know if anyone plays The Sims. You buy The Sims, the game, right, which is your foundation, and then you get an expansion pack, right? So, for example, the Sims 2 Pets expansion, right? So in The Sims, you get to play with dogs now, right? You have dogs and cats in lions in The Sims now. So that's kind of similar here, right?
Zoning. So what do you have to say to these type of learners? What's the best way for them to learn?
Well, I've been explaining it so far if you've been listening. I'm telling you, you need to build your foundation and you need to learn like job-specific, career-specific vocabulary. One thing that I want to add to about the business professional, there's a lot of CEOs or especially busy business professionals that they don't have much time, right? A lot of them, they don't have time to build their foundation or get better over time. What they can do is like find someone who can work with them on a short-term basis. Maybe they have a short-term goal. They have a project. They have a convention they need to attend. They need to do a presentation. They need to do a product launch, right? So finding an English teacher to help you for a short amount of time can have massive gains for a very short amount of time. So I have a student that I helped with recently. I just helped her prepare for the convention that she attended. I helped her, I gave her like English sentence sets for different scenarios, and that really helped her and helped her get a couple of good contracts at the convention she attended. Now, if you're already really good at English, right, if your foundation is there, you just gotta learn at least some basic stuff about that industry so that you don't sound like an idiot when you go to your job interview, right? So if you want to work in international trade, you should have some business English knowledge.
Yeah.
And be able to survive the interview. So I might learn like about the company and I might study about the job description that you want. So if you want this specific job, look at the job description and be able to have an intelligent conversation about that job description. I might even put that job description into ChatGPT and then tell ChatGPT to have a conversation with me about this job and the responsibilities. To me, the best way to learn, and I'm someone that learns through trial and error. I go to like 10 interviews and then I try to vibe with this with the interviewer and I try to meet the manager and I'm just picking up things that they're looking for, basically. So I'm not someone to like I try to like jump into the fucking pool, right? Jump into the fucking pool and swim. So I might fail the first 3 times and the interviewer might think I'm a fucking idiot, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm picking up knowledge and then I can adjust for next time. Kind of like how we do stand-up comedy and how we do stand-up comedy different. I'm more trial and error. Pepper, who also does stand-up comedy, likes to prepare more beforehand and analyze things more. Is that accurate?
Yeah, why is that relevant?
It is very relevant because getting feedback from an interview and talking to the guy that will hire you or not is very relevant to the social interaction between you and the crowd.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you agree now?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. When you said how is that relevant, it sounded like you didn't agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the next type?
Sure.
The next type is the academic striver who is aiming to taking IELTS and studying.
IELTS or other, so.
IELTS, GRE, or
Yeah.
TOEFL.
Yeah, so like an academic striver is someone who is learning English for academic reasons, basically. They need to pass a certain test, they need to get to a certain school. Maybe someone who's doing this for school purposes, whether they need a certain GPA, whether they need to get into a certain school. Okay, so this type of person, the general recommendation is, look, there's a lot of these schools targeted for these people, and they do it really well. Just find a really good school, and make sure they teach speaking and writing well, because most Asian institutions, the teachers might be really bad at speaking and writing, and you don't know it if you are worse than them. So someone might be, okay, 雅思是9分满分，对吧? If they are like a 6 and you are a 4, you don't know they are a 6. So
Yeah, that's the thing. They sometimes might like to exaggerate their.
Exactly. Like, a lot of people in this economy, boost themselves, they boost their own qualifications, and you can't tell that they speak like a 6.
I don't know whether it's the truth or it's just an impression I get from the internet. I feel like they're basically everywhere. Those like who get the band A overall.
Okay,
but
so
is that really that many of people?
I don't know. I guess you gotta check their official score or transcript.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like, it's easy to fake. Like, you can Photoshop it.
Yeah.
So like, find a good school. Ask friends, right? Ask friends who have passed it and look for teacher recommendations. Like, find friends that you can trust, right? And of course, everything that's on the internet is not true. We all know that, right? So finding a good quality school is what I recommend. And if you have the money, find a qualified tutor, a handsome tutor like Teacher Gary. Because like level is very low, people underestimate how long it takes, especially if their English is poor, to get to like even a band a 6.0 or 6.5. Like if you take a practice test, you can take a practice test if you want. There's many free ones. If they're like at a 5 and they're trying to get to a 7, it can take a long time. So like, I do have students that like have been with me for over a year and they're still learning, but the progress is slow and it takes a lot of money. So it's a lot cheaper if you find a reputable school, especially a good teacher. That's really, really important. But if you have the money, you can spend that money on a handsome, educated, good teacher.
Yeah, so kids don't believe those class who promise that you're gonna get like from 5.5 to 7 within 1 month. Don't believe that.
Yeah, well, like if you're like at let's say you're at like a 5 and you want to get to a 5.5, it can be pretty damn quick. But remember, at the end of the day, the teacher cannot learn for you. You still gotta learn by yourself. You gotta do the fucking homework.
Yeah, so can we move on to the next type?
Yes.
So the next type is the type that I'm really interested to talk about.
Why, is that you?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of one of them right now.
This is creative professional.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, they include aspiring influencer, creative professionals, and hobbyists with specific interests.
Hobbyists.
And they need fluency in presenting creative ideas or pitching to the international clients. They need skills in storytelling, script writing, and cultural nuances for content creations. So what do you have to say to this type of learner?
So they've decided, so this is a non-native speaker who's decided to cater to an English-speaking crowd.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a super broad audience, right?
Yeah,
so they use English.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, basically, you just have to be really fluent in your field.
Yeah,
Right.
say Jay Chou is deciding to rap in English.
So he has to study hip hop, right? So this is very similar to the career one that we were talking about earlier. You just have to know your domain really well. You have to have a basic foundation again. So this is very similar, but you might not have the resources, I would say. Most influencers, they don't have like the backing of a massive team to provide the resources and even ask them the questions or the support system for them to know what to know, right? So knowing what to know is also very important, because if you're like a solo entrepreneur creative, basically you just have this big white canvas, right? You can build whatever you want, and you have to know so many areas like marketing, finance, advertising, like script writing.
Do you think they have the shortcut access to these kind of resources and information?
Yeah, it's called AI. So like understanding what are the things you need to be competent at. Like you can even ask ChatGPT, like, if I want to be like a well-known comedian, like what are the skills I need to be good at, right? So ChatGPT or whatever AI you use might list out, okay, these are the things you really need to be really good at becoming a successful comedian, right? So it might talk about marketing, it might talk about ads or like small talk with people that small talk with like comedy event organizers. It'll list out these things that are not obvious to you and you need to get good at it. Now, if you worked in a big company, let's say you work at a Tencent or a Google, right? You know what areas of English you need to get better at, right? Because people around you are going to guide you towards a certain path. As an entrepreneur, you have to understand what are the non-obvious things that I need to learn, that I need to be able to talk about in English.
Yeah, I think talking to the machine AI is helpful, but we also need to like start to get to like know people in that industry.
100%.
Yeah, networking.
100%, because AI is not perfect yet, but like when you network with people, they can point you in the right direction. So they cover the blind spots.
Yeah.
Right? So like that's the case for me because I'm a creative, right? And I'm doing the same thing with Chinese, right? So this is me, but for Chinese. So not everything is available on the internet, or they won't tell it to you directly. But I come to China. I'm in China right now, and like I meet different people, and they tell me like all these different tricks and techniques in order to do better at my business. And I started learning Chinese that I think can be helpful.
Yeah. So shall we move on to the next type?
Sure.
The next type is what we call the social connector, who is looking to use English to make more friends, to tap into new social circles. So their learning needs are casual conversational skills for networking, travel, and socializing, and overcoming fear of rejection or awkwardness in social settings. Sounds very familiar. I noticed not just myself, but a lot of learners too. When start to make casual conversation, they are afraid of making mistakes because they are usually not prepared for like these social settings in a different culture.
Yeah. Interesting. So you've been the social connector learner before.
I feel like I've been every type. After I got into my master program, obviously I can use English for academic discussion.
Sure.
But then my needs start to change. I want to have more friendly conversation with my roommates, but I struggle with that.
Where are your roommates from?
From the US.
Oh, okay. So you were in the US at the time.
No, not really. I was in Hong Kong.
You were in Hong Kong, but you had
a
American
US,
roommates.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I would just struggle search for words that do like even start a really casual chat with her.
Gotcha. So would you say that your previous way of learning wouldn't really help you with these situations? And did you have to change the way that you learned?
Yeah, the previous way that I was taught not really prepared me for this like casual setting, making friends.
Sure.
So I have to like find my own way.
Get along with the American roommates. Okay, that's a really good example, actually. My general advice when it comes to like connecting people socially, like find out what you like to talk about, right? What's funny to you, and what's funny to you, you might use that to get along with other people, right? So if I think the Chris Brown, these Jose and Loyo, if I think that's funny, like I'm gonna make that joke, and some people are gonna like that joke, some people are not gonna like that joke, but like I'm using that to connect with people. Or if I'm really into sports, or like say yoga or dogs, painting, art, like I'm gonna go to these places where people like these things, and we have more things to talk about. And I already have the vocabulary, right, to talk about these things, and it's just easier for me to connect with people, right? So music, find hobbies that you like. Of course, learn foundation. I'm gonna bring this back to like foundation. There's foundational social words that you might not learn in school. Like, for example, for dating, like, can I buy you a drink if you are a guy, right? Or where are you from, right? And you should be able to like say like all the different ethnicities, for example, right? So if someone's from Canada, you should know that he is Canadian, right? Not he is Canada person. He is Canada person or Canadianese, right? Right. So these are very frequent words that you need to know for like social interactions. Like some dude called me Canadianese. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying?
That sounds not wrong.
Canadianese. It is confusing, right? Chinese, Japanese, Canadianese, Americanese. So these are know your foundation words like, do you want to exchange WeChat or do you want to exchange a line, right? I live in Thailand, we use a line instead of WeChat. These are basic ones that you need to know to be able to make friends. So these aren't going to be taught in the textbook, or the textbook might teach these, but they're very outdated. Yeah.
So what do you say to girls you met on Bumble?
I say that's a secret.
Okay, so shall we move on to the next one? A relocation planner.
Yeah.
There are families or individuals preparing to immigrate to an English-speaking country. Parents, kids, professional relocating for work, and they might need a daily survival English.
Yeah.
And they need to adapt to new cultural norms and systems, say in schools and workplace. So what do we have to say to them?
This is very, I feel like we've touched on this type because their needs are very broad because they're moving their entire life, right?
I
so
think
they
the
need to be.
emphasis is kind of different. Yeah.
How, what do you mean by that?
Like they need to focus on the functional language that you can use in your daily life.
Like going to the store, talking to the taxi driver,
Yes.
To the Uber Eats driver. Yeah, having a good sense of daily life is definitely very important because when you move to a foreign country, your whole life changes.
Yeah, I will give you a very specific example. Like I have trouble remembering those names in English, those like names for the equipment and tools, like certain kinds of appliances. Like I can only say that what's the thing that you use to like wipe the floor. Yeah, I don't really know the exact name that you use daily use, and I know I'm also aware that in different English-speaking countries they have different names too.
Well, I'm a good case for this because I moved to a country where I didn't know the language at all. I moved to Thailand, right? But before moving to Thailand, I don't know what's in Thailand except from the videos that I've watched, right? So like there's all types of, like I don't know what's there. I don't know what the daily life routine that I might need to know, right? Because I haven't taken their Didi or their Uber, right? It might be different. So one example is like they have motorbike taxis in Thailand, right? So then I gotta be able to talk, I gotta have to have specific language to talk with the motorbike taxi, right? So I couldn't forecast
What's
that.
Like
It's called Grab in Thailand.
Grab?
Yeah. It's a Singaporean ride-hailing company, and you can buy food on there too. Yeah, so when you're moving to a country, you don't know what you need to know, maybe. So sometimes you just gotta learn on the fly, which means you learn by jumping into the pool. You're like, oh, I don't know what this is. Like, this is something I didn't expect from this country.
You gradually...
You pick it up. You gotta learn as you go, right? So being ready to learn, having the right tools, Google Translate or whatever, Baidu Translate or ChatGPT, whatever you use, be ready for like getting it wrong, right? Saying it wrong and having a thick skin, not being afraid of fucking up, fear of rejection, can really help you here as you adapt. But most people are nice in Thailand for me. So like even if I say something wrong, if I say turn left instead of turning right, like it will be fine, right? So be as prepared as you can. Learn about the country. What are the traditions? What are things you can and cannot do? Like you cannot say crap about specific things. Then like learn that beforehand, right?
Yeah.
So is that it? Are those the 6 archetypes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like my clothing thoughts is like identify which one are you, right? Are you more than one type? Chances are you are, but understand that there's no one-size-fit-all method or strategy for you to get better. Understand your needs. Understand what is your goal for learning English. Why are you learning English? Do you have any obvious pain points? Right? So if your English is limiting your career, which can help you get a promotion or a raise, maybe you can take some business course and it will improve your English and that will help you get that promotion pretty quickly, right? So I like looking for low-hanging fruits. What is low-hanging fruit? Like things that you can do quickly that maximize your gains, right? So for example, one example is doing a self-introduction. Like I think everyone should be able to introduce themselves. Where are you from? What's your name? What's your age? What do you do? Right? Most people can't even answer that question quickly without thinking, right?
Yeah, who am I?
Yeah,
Still the question.
who am I? That sounds like a
Why I'm here.
that sounds like philosophy. Okay, what do you do is what I ask. Like, what do you do for work? Are you a student? What is your major? Right? Sometimes I ask students like, what do you do? And they go, oh, what do I do? Like, and then I have to rephrase it. I say, what is your major? Right? Or what is your job? Right? So, yeah, figure out the basics. Self-introduction. Find something that you think you can improve pretty quickly, and it'll help you get better quickly. So I think that is all. If you guys have any questions, feel free to write in the comments. I will personally answer them. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.